Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Mathmech Yugioh deck profile for November 2019. With the release of Mystic Fighters, we have one of the first of the 3 new decks from the booster pack for a deck profile, and that is the Mathmech deck. It's a Cyberse deck that focuses on Synchro and Exceed summons, which I think is a really interesting concept for the deck, not really focusing on Link summoning as much. You can still do Link summoning with the deck, but the main focus is Synchro and Exceed, with all the different level 4 Mathmech monsters we have for the deck. So definitely do like how the deck plays all together with the different tuners and just the special summon consistency with the different spell and traps for the Mathmech deck as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the Mathmech monsters, I run 3 Mathmech multiplication. You can target 1 level 4 Cyberse monster you control. Its level becomes 8 until the end of this turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Cyberse monster you control in the extra monster zone. Its attack becomes double until the end of the turn. You can only use each effect of Mathmech multiplication once per turn. So the fact it makes it a level 8 really does help to go for our boss monster, which is Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma, being a level 12 synchro monster. Giving us a level 8 option means we have just 2 monsters needed to make the synchros, since Final Sigma just needs 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster to make it for this card. So very useful with that level 8 play with this card. And also doubling the attack, it just gives us more and more damage we can do with our monster, since it's already at 3,000 attack, which we'll get to more with this when we go over the extra deck. But 3 multiplication definitely does help for that setup, so definitely want to run 3 of that. Sticking to the pairs, I also run 3 Mathmech Division. You contribute 1 Cyberse monster you control in the extra monster zone. Special summon up to 1 level 4 Cyberse monster each from your hand and graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. Its attack becomes half until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of Mathmech Division once per turn. So also following in theme, multiplication focuses on doubling, which is basically the multiplication part of the card, and division, halving the attack, is the division part, which works with this, and also just giving you that option for the more special summons helps for some of our Exceed plays as well in the deck to go into, along with the Synchro plays, which we have plenty of Synchro and Exceed monsters to run in the deck, or even the Link plays if you have and want to go for that option for your cards also, all depending on the play you want to use too. And I also run 3 Mathmech Edition. This is the one card I didn't pull any of from my box, which I think is crazy. I could pull the short print Exceed card. Didn't pull 1 Mathmech Edition. I thought it was originally a secret rare, but this card was actually a super in the set, which is all the more crazy that I didn't get 1 from the entire box. But with Mathmech Edition, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Cyberse monsters. Also special summon this card from your hand, then it cannot attack the turn. And if you do, the targeted monster gains 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Mathmech Edition once per turn. So it has the addition effect, which is the attack adding, and also just giving you that extra power for your Cyberse monsters for the special summon for that card. So very useful. I really do like running max numbers of all the Mathmech monsters just for the consistency you get with all your cards. So running the 3 edition definitely does come in handy as well. Same goes for 3 Mathmech Subtraction. With this one, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Cyberse monsters. Also special summon this card from your hand, but it cannot attack this turn. And if you do, the targeted monster loses 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. You can also use this effect of Mathmech Subtraction only once per turn. But the limit of Cyberse monsters really doesn't affect the deck as much, because all the Link monsters we run are also majority Cyberse monsters. So having that and the fact that the Exceed and Synchro monsters are also Cyberse doesn't hurt you in the least with this deck. I just like the 3 subtraction, works very well for lowering down the attack power of some monsters you may want to get over. Also just like addition, giving you the plus. But also, you're going to use these cards for extra deck summons, so you don't really have to rely on them attacking, even though they'll be limited to not being able to attack after you use their effects. And then for the tuner monsters, I run 3 Mathmech Nabla. With this one, you contribute 1 Cyberse monster to special summon 1 Mathmech monster from your deck. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Cyberse monster you control in the extra monster zone. It can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. This turn, you can only use each effect of Mathmech Nabla once per turn. So the tribute effect works very well, since it has to be a Cyberse monster, which means it can also work with Balancer Lord, which we run in the deck, since it is a Cyberse monster. giving us a much more needed Mathmech monster on the field to use instead of that card, or even once you use your Balancer Lord. And then having this card be the tuner also gives the 2 attacks on the Synchro monster if you have it, so that additional effect is useful. But being the tuner, like I said, is what you need for this card to go into your extra deck summons for your Synchro monsters. Also with Mathmech Sigma, which I also run 3 of. With Sigma, if you control no monsters in the extra monster zone while this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Cyberse monsters. You can only use this effect of Mathmech Sigma once per turn. If this card you control is used as Synchro tier for a Mathmech monster, you can treat it as a non-tuner. So it all depends on the cards you open up with this card also. But giving you this easy special summon, you can also use this card for an Exceed summon, which then it'll go to the graveyard since it is a material and was no longer on the field to use. But having the different tuner options is one other thing I like, and since Sigma can be treated as a non-tuner, if you open up Nabla as well, you have the play right there for your cards to go into also. And then that is it for the Mathmech monsters. I also run 3 Balancer Lord, one of the best Cyberse monsters. There's so many other generic Cyberse monsters that you run in the deck just for the fact that they don't rely on level 4 monsters as much. That's why I don't run cards like Lady Debug and also just some of the other support cards in the deck. But Balancer Lord definitely does come in handy. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points. During your main phase this turn, you can normal summon 1 Cyberse monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. If this card is banished, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your hand. You can only use this effect of Balancer Lord once per turn. So the banish effect doesn't come in handy as often with this deck. The normal summon is what I use the most, for the fact that if you set up the play with cards like Navla giving you the monster for this card to special summon a Mathmech just by attributing a Cyberse monster, you can summon Balancer Lord, get the additional normal summon, then send off Balancer Lord and get whichever other Mathmech card you need to work with Nabla, and that can be your synchro play right then and there. And then for additional monster support, I also run 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just a good hand trap to help shut down your opponent's deck. With this, I like to run the 3. This can be Effect Veiler or Ghost Ogre or Nibiru, whatever you'd like to try and fit in for the final spot in the deck. Cards are a true boss monster of the deck, so cards like Nibiru I don't really like as much since it'll eat away at your resources also. Ash Blossom I find to be the best thing, just being able to shut down your opponent's searches definitely does come in handy with this card. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 2 Mathmech Billion Blade Nyuda. It's the equip spell. Equip only to a Cyberse monster. If the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, you can send 1 Mathmech monster from your deck to the graveyard. The equipped monster gains attack equal to the sent monster's attack until the end of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. If this card is sent from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, you can target 1 Mathmech card in your graveyard except Mathmech Billion Blade Nyuda to add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of Mathmech Billion Blade Nyuda once per turn, but all the different Mathmech spell and traps we run definitely does help with the consistency for the add back effect when this is sent from the spell and trap card zone, giving you other Mathmech cards in your graveyard for the recycle. You can't add Nyuda, that's why I like to run 2 of this card, but also the boost when you're sometimes limited with your other Mathmech cards for them being unable to attack is a definite help as well with this card. And I have the 1 Mathmech equation. If you want to take out one of the Nyudas, if you just like to run the 1 for it, you could try putting in 2 equations. You target 1 Mathmech monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, it gains 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. You can only activate 1 Mathmech equation per turn. You can also take out the Monster Reborn, which we'll get to in just a bit, that I'm running. Also, if you want to replace for an additional number of this card, you have 2 spots to remove if you want to add more Mathmech equation numbers in the deck, but that's completely player preference at this point. Also, I'm a big fan of Nyuda just being able to set up more and more power plays with your monsters on the field. And also, I run 3 Cynet Mining for the search. You send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard to add 1 level 4 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Cynet Mining per turn. If you don't have this card, you can use Cynet Backdoor. It just came out in the Mystic Fighters booster set, so much easier to pull and use as well, and much more budget friendly as well for people. But if you have the Cynet Minings, definitely do use them. It sets up your graveyard with a bunch of other different Mathmech monsters you can use and gives you the search for other ones you'd like also. And I run 3 Call by the Grave, just more power to stop your opponent's hand traps. You do some special summoning from the deck, or searching, like cards with Cynet Mining, which would definitely hurt the deck if you were to have a hand trap activated on you, like Ash Blossom, to stop it. So Call by the Grave, very, very helpful for preventing that, and making sure your searches and special summons go off. And I also run 2 Pot of Desires. I run play sets of all the Mathmech and Cybers monsters, so there's really not anything you could majorly hit that can't make your play go off. If you banish, you know, all of the Nabla or all of the Sigma, you still have your plays, and even with any of the cards like Subtraction or Division, if you banish them, you still have other numbers to go into. You don't rely on one tuner. You have plenty of other monsters to use to keep the plays going, so Desires at 2, you banish the 10, get the additional 2, definitely does help and come in handy. And then for the last one-ofs, I run 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Gold Sarcophagus. The Gold Sarcophagus is for banishing the Balancer Lore, which will give you an additional special summon onto the field of any of your Mathmech monsters you have in your hand. And Monster Reborn can be that resource card from your graveyard to summon cards back into the field. If you don't want to run Monster Reborn and you want to run Mathmech Equation an additional number instead, you could do that just because of the fact that this card is searchable with cards like No Yugioh, so you can add them back to your hand for consistency, or just for the risk of banishing with Pot of Desires also. And that is it for the spells. For the traps, I run 2 Mathmech Super Factorial. With this trap card, I'll target up to 3 Mathmech monsters in your graveyard with different names, then activate one of these effects, special summon them, but their effects are negated, and then immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon 1 Mathmech Synchro monster using only those monsters, and shuffle the materials into the deck instead of sending them to the graveyard. Or you can special summon them, but their effects are negated immediately after this resolves. Exceed summon 1 Mathmech Exceed monster using only those monsters. So with the Exceed monsters, you can use 2 or more for these, or 1 or more non-tuner monsters for the Mathmech Synchros also. So depending on what you go into, can be very, very useful with these cards. And just the setup with this, putting them back in the deck, I like that it doesn't banish them. It just gives you more and more cards to reuse from the deck later on as well. So definitely like to run 2 of this. And lastly, 1 Mathmech Induction. All Cybers monsters you control gain 500 attack. If you control a Mathmech monster, you can send this face-up card from the field to the graveyard, then target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use this effect of Mathmech Induction once per turn. So it gives you a destruction effect by sending a face-up card in the field, and also giving you that power for your Cybers. You can even send No Yugioh for that and get the search for this card, and then using it to blow up cards with Mathmech Induction also. Just the one, though, I do like Super Factorial a little more since it has better setup, I'd say, for your plays also. And that is it for the main deck. Well, now I'll move on to the extra deck. I run 1 Prime Mathmech Albertian. With this one, it needs 2 or more level 4 monsters. You can tribute 1 monster to special summon 1 level 4 Mathmech monster from your hand or graveyard. If this card is Exceed Summon, you can detach up to 4 materials from this card, then activate the appropriate effects. If you detach 2, you add 1 Mathmech from your deck to your hand. If you detach 3, you add 1 level 4 from your deck to your hand. If you detach 4, you can add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Prime Mathmech Albertian once per turn. But the search and the setup is what this card is made for, so definitely need it in the deck. I know it's a little pricey, but we do have 1 other Exceed monster in the deck. Didn't pull any of it for the Mathmechs also, but I'll show what card to take out for it also. For the Synchros, I run 2 Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma. One of your true boss monsters of the deck being the level 12 Synchro, unaffected by the effects of cards except Mathmech cards. While in the extra monster zone, if this card is in the extra monster zone battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage it inflicts to your opponent is doubled. And if this card is destroyed by battle or in its card's owner possession is destroyed by opponent's card effect, excuse me, these Mathmechs really have the mouthful with the flavor text. You can add 1 Mathmech card from your deck to your hand. You can use this effect of Final Sigma once per turn. So with it, you have the search with this card, definitely useful, but with the multiple attacks you can do, it also comes in handy just to hit the high numbers against your opponent. And I also run 2 Yugioh Mathmech Magma, being a level 8 Synchro. Little easier to make. You could still easily summon level 12 with the double attack, but this one definitely does come in handy for the additional plays also. And then I also run 1 Link Disciple, excuse me, like I said, 1 Link Devotee, 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Security Dragon, 1 Land Fornicus, 1 Cyber Swit Kid, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and the 1 Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. For all the different Cybers plays you have in the deck, it's very, very useful. And just being able to go into the Synchro plays or the Exceed plays, depending on what you go for, it definitely does help with all the different variety you can do for the deck also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'm going to have plenty more decks from Mystic Fighters, so definitely look forward to that. But until then, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.